Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm going to be going over all of the cards from the new expansion, Knights of the Frozen Throne, that have been released so far. So far, I think we have about 70 or so cards released out of the 135, so we're about halfway there. And I am on the Hearthstone Gamepedia page right now, and I'm going to be running through each of the cards, giving a couple quick thoughts on the noteworthy ones. But really the main point of this video is really just to give a good idea of what we're heading into in the next exciting expansion. Um, so let's go ahead and get started with the neutral cards. So we have Snow Flipper Penguin to start off, which is a 0 cost 1/1 beast. So it is a lot like Wisp, which was a 0 cost 1/1 nothing. It might be an elemental now, I'm not sure. Either way, point is, this card is pretty terrible. It really doesn't have many redeeming qualities. Uh, you could argue that you get some synergy with Houndmaster, maybe playing a 4/3 with this, and then that turns this into a 3/3. So for 4 cost and 2 cards, you're getting a 3/3 taunt and a 4/3. Not bad, but that's really all you're gonna get out of this. In general, I don't expect this card to be run too often. Next we have Cobalt Scalebane, a 5 cost 5/5. At the end of your turn, give another random friendly minion plus 3 attack. So when you see this, the first thing you think of is that 2 cost 1/3 that gives a minion plus 1 attack at the end of your turn. And I don't remember the name of that card because it doesn't really see play. So I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say that this is the same, um, just in terms of the effect. Now, if you look at the power level, it is actually a pretty strong card. It's 5 cost 5/5, so it's a little understated. It doesn't pass the vanilla test, but it is a dragon, first off, so it does have some good synergy. And if you have any other minions on the board, that plus 3 attack bonus could be huge. Now, it is at the end of your turn, so the opponent does have a chance to react to it, but it's still a pretty strong effect. So I could definitely see this getting play in some dragon-based decks. Not much more outside of that, though. Next we have Sunborn Valkyr, a 5 cost 5/4, give adjacent minions plus 2 health. So 5 cost 5/4, it's understated by about 2 health or so. If we're looking at the 5 cost 5/6, Pit Lord, Pit Boss, one of those is a 5 cost 5/6. If we're looking at that as our baseline, this is understated by 2 health, but it does give adjacent minions plus 2 health. So you could look at it as getting its vanilla value. If you can hit one minion with its battle cry, which you almost always can, you'll probably usually be able to hit two. So it's not a bad card at all. I think it will be a great card in Arena. Not sure if it fits into Constructed too much, because it doesn't really have many synergies. Next we have Necrotic Geist. Whenever one of your other minions dies, summon a 2/2 ghoul. And this is a 6 cost 5/3. So if we can get one ghoul off, we are getting a total of 7/5 worth of stats for 6 cost. That's still not great, and you have it split between 2 minions, so it's pretty vulnerable to board clears. I don't think this is going to be too great of a card. It has some synergy with Unleash the Hounds, or it might even work in some token decks. Um, because, you know, if you have a board full of 5 or 6 things, you're getting an incredible value out of this. So you could see play in token decks, not sure outside of that, because at the end of the day, you're going to play this and whatever you do, you'll get destroyed by a board clear. Volcanic Potion plus pink from a mage would clear your board. Just about any other board clear can take care of a board of 2/2s with 1/3 health minion. So maybe token decks, if even that. Next we have Bone Mare. Battle Cry. Give a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. Wow. So this is a 7 cost 5/5. So pretty awful stats for the cost, but that is a good Battle Cry. Um, if you look at giving a friendly minion +4/+4, the first thing you think of is Blessing of Kings, which is a 4 cost card. This gives not only +4/+4, but it also gives taunt, which is huge with that buff, because that sort of allows you to attack face with that minion, knowing that you'll have to be attacked into next turn unless they have removal. And so you're getting that four cost card, and then you're also getting a 5/5 body. You're getting Blessing of Kings, which costs 4, and you're getting this 5/5 body, all for 7. So for those 3 extra mana, you are getting the fact that the minion gets taunt too, and you're also getting a 5/5. 3 cost 5/5 is pretty great. Not much synergy, so I don't know if this is going to see a whole lot of play in Constructed, but this is definitely a top tier arena card in my opinion. So we have Mindbreaker. Hero powers are disabled. 3 cost 2/5. 3 cost 2/5 is an okay stat line. It's not the best, but it's definitely not bad. The issue with Mindbreaker is the hero powers aren't that great. They're not game changers. It's not like Lilitheb would be the first thing I would think of when you're looking at a card like this. Lilitheb basically prevents you from playing spells on your next turn. That's a game changer. There are some really powerful spells, but hero powers are not that strong, so I'm not sure if this is going to get all that much value. Next we have Shallow Gravedigger, a 3 cost 3/1 with a Death Rattle. Add a random Death Rattle minion to your hand. So this does not seem like an awesome card at first glance, or second glance, or third or fourth glance. So think of a 3 cost 3/1. We currently have that 3 cost 3/1 that summons 2 1/1s. And that card's okay in Arena, not really as great in Constructed. Shallow Gravedigger seems to be like a worse version of that card. Another card you could compare it to would be the Babbling Spellbook. I probably have the name wrong. The 1 cost 1/1 with Battle Cry, add a random spell to your hand for Mage. This is similar to that, except it's a Death Rattle, so it's a delayed effect. You're getting a random Death Rattle minion, which will probably not be as good as a random spell for Mage. And you're paying 2 more mana for just 2 more attack on a pingable body. So, all in all, I don't expect too much out of this card. Next we have Phantom Freebooter. It's a 4 cost 3/3. Battlecry, gain attack or gain stats equal to your weapons. So if you hero power into this, which would probably be the most common use case as rogue. I thought this was a rogue card for a second. Just it looks like a rogue card, doesn't it? But if you hero power into it as rogue, you end up with a 4/5 for 4, which is solid stats, but where you really get some good value out of this is with good weapons. So if you look at something like even Fiery War Axe, which is a cheap weapon, you end up with a 6/5 for 4, which is pretty good. It also has Pirate Synergy, so this could play a role in Pirate Warrior. It might even lead to just a big weapon buffing deck, which I'm surprised hasn't really been in the meta ever. Where you just equip something like the arc or not arcane, like the 5/3 warrior weapon, Arcanite Reaper. That's its name. Where you equip something like that, and then just hit it with an upgrade or two, and just give it buffs, and then just swing face a few times and win. So this sort of would flourish in that environment. Overall, not too great. Very situational, and even in the ideal situation, you're not getting a whole lot out of it. If you look at a card like Dread Corsair, that's a 4 cost 3/3 taunt with I which is basically free if you have a weapon out, um, or at least costs not a lot, and that doesn't see a whole lot of play outside of Pirate Warrior. Um, this could see play in Pirate Warrior. I wouldn't hold my breath though. Next we have Ticking Abomination. Death Rattle, deal 5 damage to your minions. A 4 cost 5/6. Wow. Okay, this is a bad card. So if this is the only card on the field and you play it on turn 4, you're getting decent value out of it. Maybe. But while this is on the board, you can't really play anything else. Um, and it's just really bad. This is just a bad card. It clears your board when it gets killed. You're basically handing your opponent a 5 damage board clear. And for what? To save 1 mana on stats? That is not worth it. There is no universe where this is a good card. Uh, Now we have Corpse Razor. Battlecry. Give a friendly minion Death Rattle. Resummon this minion. So this is a pretty good card, I think. It's a 5 cost 3/3, but it's essentially also copying another minion. So if we look at the I'm terrible with card names. A 5 cost 3/3 that copies another minion. This is sort of like that, except you get to keep this 5 cost 3/3 body on the board. The downside, of course, is that that minion that you give this Death Rattle to could be silenced. It could be polymorphed, it could be hexed, it could be entombed. So many things could happen that take that effect away. But the vast majority of the time, you're going to get some great value for this. With 3/3, let's say that fits for like a 2.5 cost minion. So you're paying 2.5 more mana for basically a copy of any other minion on the board. I think that this is a really good card. Next we have Corpse Taker. Battle Cry, or 4 cost 3/3. Let's start with the stats first. So it's a 4 cost 3/3, pretty understated, but it has Battle Cry, gain taunt if your deck has a taunt minion. Repeat for Divine Shield, Lifesteal, and Wind Fury. Wow, okay, so this will go through your deck, and if you have a taunt minion, uh, this will get taunt. If you have a Divine Shield minion, this will get Divine Shield, and so on and so forth. I think that this is a great card. If if your deck naturally has these, at least 3 of these things, maybe even 2, I think that this is just a really good all-around card. Uh, of course, the downside is if you draw this late in the game, you might not have those minions in the deck, and you might end up with a vanilla 3/3. But I think in general, if your deck has at least 3 of these, it will likely have at least 2 when you draw this, and it seems like it would be a good card. A 4 cost 3/3 with Divine Shield is sort of typical. So once you get that, you have like an average arena card, and if you can get Taunt, Lifesteal, or Wind Fury at that point, it's really just a bonus. Lifesteal and Wind Fury is a crazy combo. And if you can get that Divine Shield off too, then you're almost guaranteed to survive a turn. So you can get that 6 health back while hitting their face for 6. And it has a lot of potential. This is one of those cards that could either be amazing or terrible, and it's hard to tell. Right now I'm leaning towards amazing, but we'll see. Next we have Meat Wagon. Death Rattle. Summon a minion from your deck with less attack than this minion. So this is a card that invites buffing. You want the attack on this card as high as you can when it does. It's 4 cost 1/4, pretty awful stats, but with this effect, if you can get buffs off on it, can be very powerful. And this looks like it is a random effect, so it brings a random minion with an attack less than this from your deck. So if you build your deck correctly, you could probably get a decent minion out of this. If you hit it with a buff, God, it's like +2, +5 maybe, then if you had a couple 2/3s or in your deck, you could get that. Overall, not sure if it is all that great. It seems like it would need a Blessing of Kings on it or something like that to really get much, and even then, it's still a random minion that you're bringing back. So, not too great at first glance. Then we have Tomb Lurker. 5 cost, 5/3. So weak stat line. But as a battle cry, add a random death rattle minion that died this game to your hand. So add a random death rattle minion that died this game, not necessarily a friendly one. So you can't really manipulate this the same way you can with a resurrect from a priest. But this card still, I want to say it could see play, but I just don't know if I believe that. 5/3 for 5, pretty awful stats. That 3 health is really hurting it. Um, and for what's essentially a card draw, um, it's really hard to justify a card draw at that stat line when you can do it with a 4 cost 2/4, which is which is probably a similar stat line, has one less stat overall, but they're distributed in a way that's better. Um, I don't see this getting a whole lot of play, just because it can get bogged down um, by your opponent's Death Rattle cards. Death Rattle Priest could maybe play it, but that's really the only situation where I see this getting any play at all. Neruvian Unraveler. 6 cost 5/5, spells cost 2 more. It's not a good card. Not a good card for sure. 6 cost, you'd want to see 6/7. Has a symmetric effect. I guess first off, it's worth mentioning this isn't awful. It's not as bad as you'd think at first because spells costing 2 more uh, for both players is bad, but you can play all of your spells before playing this card, and your opponent is almost forced to remove it with minions before they can do anything. They can't just play something here, and they can't play a spell to remove it, or else they'd end up paying 2 more mana, which they could do, but it's sort of like a mini Loatheb, which gives it some merit. Still, not a fantastic card, but in maybe in Arena you'd draft it sometimes if you're given other bad options. I don't know. It's hard to justify this card. Let's move on before we get sick of looking at it. Next we have Prince Keliseth. Battlecry. If your deck has no 2-cost cards, give all minions in your deck +1/+1. Okay, so here's the issue with this card. Mistcaller, we all thought was going to be broken, and it comes out, and it's not broken. It is awful. And Mistcaller has a similar effect. It's a 6 cost 4/4 that gives all minions in your deck, and hand, I believe, +1/+1. And even that doesn't see play. And that doesn't come with any of these restrictions. That doesn't come with this crazy no 2-cost card restriction, because 2-cost cards are really good. 2-cost cards, that's where you find your basic small removal. That's where you find your Frostbolts. That's where you find your Shadow Word Pains. It's a really good slot. And if your deck naturally doesn't have any 2/2s, then maybe it's not terrible. Maybe in a classic Warlock or Rogue where you'd want a hero power on turn 2, you'd get away without any 2-cost cards. This just seems like a very slow card. Uh, and if you don't draw it early on, you're going to be really hurt by the lack of 2-cost cards in your deck. Next we have Prince Tal'Darim. It's a 3-cost 3/3 with a Battle Cry. If your deck has no 3-cost cards, transform into a 3/3 copy of a minion. So, I'm assuming that this is any minion on the board. Off the top of my head, I cannot think of anything that would make this that good. First you think of is something with a strong effect, or maybe something with a, um, yeah, a strong effect or a strong death rattle. So maybe something like a Savannah High Main would be good. But again, having no 3-cost cards, that's a pretty big restriction on your deck. Don't see this getting a whole lot of play. And Prince Valnar, our last prince. Battlecry. If your deck has no 4/4s, gain lifesteal and taunt. It is a 4-cost 4/4 following the same pattern of the 2-cost 2/2 and the 3-cost 3/3. So, Prince Valnar is a bad card. If your deck has no 4-cost cards, gain lifesteal and taunt. That is such a weak effect. Again, I only see this as being useful if your deck does not have any 4-cost cards naturally. That is not reasonable. Every deck will have 4-cost cards because there are good 4-cost cards just like there are every cost, which is why I don't expect any of these princes to get much play. Um, but yeah, that's it for the neutral cards. This video went pretty long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here, and we'll cover the class cards in separate videos. But yep, hope hope you're excited as I am for this. It looks like there are some good cards here. This looks like a good balanced expansion so far, which I am very happy about after seeing some overpowered cards in other expansions. It's nice to see sort of like a lower power level the Blizzard's going for. Alright, see you all later.